Good evening, I'm TerryTopCat for TerryTopCat Purrsents for clusterview.com and with the wonderful Philly-based Nasrus. Good evening, gentlemen. So I'm with Shawn and Norm. Welcome to London, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So, and thank you to Andy, big shout out to Andy Franklin as well for setting this up, and to Mark Anthony from clusterview.com. We were talking before, this is not your first time to London, but as a band, this is your first time together, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We are here promoting our new single, Neurotic Goddess. This is part of our larger media tour. Just to kind of introduce ourselves to the audiences here, in the UK, and hopefully gain some new fans.
Absolutely. And as an artist, obviously promotion is a big part of that. Do you like doing that? Because sometimes you get asked silly questions, or obviously back in the day and now obviously you did a lot of interviews. Do you find it tiresome, or depends on what because you said you've been on a lot of breakfast shows in America to promote the single as well, and all very different experiences.
Very.
Well, I will say that the best thing about doing this show is that it's not a breakfast show. It's not in the morning.
Awesome. Although you did have a late night though, a late morning.
It's great to do the breakfast shows, but to belt full voice. And
you performed as well?
Yes, live.
Oh, okay. So did you do vocal exercises to do that, or?
Every morning.
Okay.
Coffee at 6 a.m. Walking on the side of the freeway by the hotel because it's the traffic's going by. They can't hear you scream.
I love that. I love
you got to be on set at 8:30.
And then get up as well, and then like you say, do the ritual as well.
Yeah, but you know what though, when you love what you do, as we both do, it's a welcome sacrifice.
Sure.
And it's really not like work.
So I was going to ask you, Norm, first. So you're both born and raised in Philadelphia, or you lived there? But
Yes. Well, Shawn is born and raised there. I was actually born in Newark, New Jersey. Kind of close by.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I actually, when my dad retired, we moved to Florida. And so I spent a lot of my childhood there before coming back up to New Jersey for college, and then just kind of living in different places, still in the same area.
But very different weather as well. Experience, I'm sure, in Florida, New Jersey.
Yeah, very different weather, but but it's okay.
But it makes you as a person living in all different places and experiences, obviously.
Yeah, you adjust and adapt.
So when did you start? So what was playing in your household when you were growing up, and what first ignited your interest in music?
Well, for me, the interest in music was kind of fostered by my grandmother. Like a lot of R&B artists, I grew up singing in church. I remember being very young, and my grandmother recognizing that I had something, kind of pushed me out there.
Beautiful, that's lovely.
In church to sing, and so I kind of grew up doing that. And at one point, I was kind of making the rounds on the church circuit,
really?
so to speak. As just this little guy singing.
How old were you?
Oh gosh, I want to say the first time I sang in church, I might have been about 4 or 5.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I was little. Little.
Great experience.
Little cutesy kids.
Young.
Yeah, you know what? Right, because it was great experience and exposure to singing in front of audiences.
Right.
And even from that young age, it helped me to start to develop a stage presence that I would just refine as time went on.
And gospel, did you listen to
We did. We listened, to a lot of gospel. My dad, God rest his soul, was into a lot of, a lot of soul music, a lot of R&B music.
Good stuff.
Right. Like the OJs were, a staple.
Yeah. He's still performing. I followed him on Instagram. Is it Gerald Levert? I was like,
Senior is
Eddie Levert.
Yeah.
And Switch was a big staple, In fact, actually, we are good friends with Gregory Williams from Switch now, and it was such an honor when we met him, for both of us really, because we both have Switch influences, for us to be able to tell him how much he and Switch and their music influenced us and meant to us, growing up. But so there was that, and then my dad also exposed me to Frank Sinatra and Patsy Cline.
And did you go to many shows when you were a kid, or?
No, not really. Only because
but the church experience,
right, and also because of where I lived. Those experiences weren't plentiful. Let's say. So I kind of had to create my own, situation. So I would, sing for enjoyment, or if I was, going through something, I would, maybe write a little song about it. Or
when were you how old were you when you first started writing lyrics and songs?
I mean, when you're a kid, you write these cute things or whatever. But I really didn't get serious about songwriting probably until college, because around that point was when I decided that, okay, you know what, I think I want to do this, But when you're just starting out, resources can be limited, and so I really started writing songs because I needed something to sing. It's not like I had designs on just being the next Burt Bacharach. I really just wanted to have something to sing, and in doing that, I was able to just kind of, continually refine that craft as well, which has, really sustained me and led me from one situation to the next to that.
And how did you start? How did you write a song? Did you learn on? Did you play on the piano? or guitar? Or different ways?
Norm is one of the only people that I've met that writes in the reverse of what most people do these days. For instance, most people will get a track or make a track and then write a song to it.
Yeah.
Norm has an idea in his head and will sing it like lyrics and melody as is, and you build around it. And we seem to have a really great synergy, because when I've heard the ideas that he's shared with me, I hear the music that I think we would like to hear with that. Yeah. And most of the time, it's never been like that. Everyone I work with, from BabyFace on down, there's usually, the reverse, where you create the vibe of the sound first. And with the exception of Stevie Wonder, I mean, I've seen interviews where he says sometimes it just comes to him all at once. We all can't be Stevie Wonder. No. So I thought we were a perfect fit to collaborate, because we're both bent in the same direction and twisted at the same angle. That seems to work for us.
And that speaks to his musicianship too, and the level of expertise, because it's not easy to plug into somebody's head and hear what they're hearing. But again, as I said before, when I began writing songs, I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the connections to the different musicians and producers and things like that. So I had to develop my own way, of doing it, and that has really been what's defined me, as a songwriter, and and it works, and being able to work that way with someone who gets it, and can take it from here and put it. And make it something that is not only tangible but just amazing, is worth its weight in gold.
So I'm going to ask you, Shawn, a few questions as well, and then we'll come back about from how you first started out doing music, what your respective careers, and to now to Nasrus and Neurotic Goddess. So, Shawn, you're from a Puerto Rican background, correct?
Yes,
and from Philadelphia.
Yes, first generation born in Philadelphia. My parents, they actually met in Puerto Rico as children. Their families knew each other, and then
really, that's so cute.
And they re-met as adults and did not recognize each other. And then only to discover that they had already met.
That's lovely.
And unfortunately, that's where the romance ends and the abuse begins. But unfortunately, I didn't have the embarrassment of riches of growing up with a lot of great music in the household. And to be fair, I didn't want to spend a lot of time at home. So Philadelphia back then was the kind of place where, you can hear music playing on every corner, and every barbecue and every block party, every basement party. So I got to be exposed to a lot of R&B, hip hop, gospel. For me, I went to Catholic school, So I didn't really necessarily like the Gregorian chant. The salsa music that my mother enjoyed, didn't grow on me because as a kid you want to fit in, and when you're the only person in your school that even knows who Celia Cruz is, for example, it's not like you can really connect with the music as much as now, I appreciate it.
Sure.
So I did not want to be a singer. I thought I was going to be anything else. Doctor, lawyer, I was like a really academically driven, straight A student, never absent, never late, because that was my ticket out of that situation.
Sure.
So for me, music, and it's kind of ironic that I got into singing because I was afraid to do the public speaking, like read in front of the school, and I'm like, wait, I'm walking through some of the worst neighborhoods, violence every single day, and it doesn't affect me at all. But when I get in front of people, I'm like, and something in me said, I don't like being controlled by this fear. But I really like the sound of the gospel choir. Maybe if I get up there and hide next to some of these cute girls, maybe, I can blend in, but like just get this out of my system.
Sure.
A week from the time that I joined, someone, Ali Hyman, who's a good friend to this day, he came over from Drexel University and saw me singing and said, I've got this group. And I'm thinking, wait, you think I'm good enough to be in a group? Are you serious? So he takes me back to his place in the basement, and he plays me this Take 6 record.
I love Take 6.
And I
Great
never forget it.
But
Just chills down the back of my neck. I started thinking, wait a minute. I want to be a part of something that makes me feel like this.
Right.
No matter what kind of, I don't know what it is, but there's something about this feeling that I want to be a part of, and the rest is history. So I didn't start until 15, really, like even taking it seriously. I wasn't a child prodigy or anything like that.
So coming back to you, Norm, so you say it comes with the melody and the lyrics straight away.
Yeah.
So how did your journey start as a singer-songwriter and then collaborating with Julia Robertson?
Yes, with Julia Robertson. So once I started creating, product, once I was able to start finally connecting with some producers and creating something tangible. And sidebar, like my very first demo tape was literally recorded in a friend's basement, and he had like a drum machine and a 4-track recording studio. Greg, if you're watching this, I'm telling that story. And I would literally go, and he lived in Brooklyn, and I would literally, go down and I would sing these songs I'd written in my head, and he'd just, do a beat to it, and it was literally the drum beat and my vocals. But that, I was able to take that and, through trial and error, you meet people, and eventually I was able to get to a producer who was able to take that and put, full orchestration, around it. And then, things just kind of progressed from there. I was part of an R&B group in the 90s who I got connected with through church. All things kind of go back to through the church. A friend of mine who was a part of this group also went to church with me. And he invited me to come down to the rehearsal of this group, one evening. And so, I went because, I was trying to pursue my solo thing or whatever. But I just said, I'll just go. And the vibe was really cool. And, next thing you know, they're asking me to be part of the group. And I'm like, all right, why not? So I did that for a number of years through the, through the mid-90s. And
did you like being part of a group? Because initially, and also having your melodies and lyrics, and then having the full orchestration. The feeling you must have as an artist.
Man, that was indescribable. After so long of keeping things up here, and then
to hear it fully, like with you guys, with Shawn as well.
Yeah. As for being part of the group, yes, I did. There's always, something to be said for group dynamics. You know what I mean?
I'm sure you guys
but, I gotta say that even though I came into that situation, we all, became really good friends, and we had a lot of fun. And originally, I made the 5th member of that group, and then, a couple of other guys, over time, just kind of, went, a different way. So probably the most success, that we had as the group was just called Mass Appeal, was with the three of us. And we.
Did you tour a lot, or
No.
Or was it mostly studio recordings?
We had some local success. We didn't quite elevate to the level of my friend here, but it was still an amazing experience anyway. Because for me, even whether it's that situation or this situation, it's all about the journey.
Absolutely, yeah.
And not necessarily the destination.
Yeah.
And I learned so much from that experience, and I had such a great time, and it was also during that time where I developed the skills that I use to this day for marketing myself as an artist, and now us as an
really
artist, and making those connections, and that's where because I didn't, again, when you don't have the resources, you got to figure it out.
And also, not many artists and musicians are taught that. So I think you really have to be business savvy, especially in the music industry as well.
Yes, absolutely. And so I learned that out of necessity. So everything that I'm able to bring to the table in that respect for Nasrus had its beginnings with Mass Appeal. And then just after that situation ended, then it was I began doing more solo stuff. I did have an opportunity to tour in Japan in the early 2000s, which was incredible. That was actually the first time I had been off of North America, let's say, because I've been to Canada, and things like that. But as far as experiencing a different culture, that was the first time, and it was really, really eye-opening. And then, life happens,
Sure.
as, there's,
And Juliet Robertson?
Okay, so with Julia, that situation occurred through a friend of mine who has a radio show, Carrie Singleton, in New York. And so he was working with Julia. He was managing her. And so when he introduced me, to her, it was kind of like, you guys should do something, together.
And had you worked with many female artists before?
I had not, no.
Okay.
No, because between the group and then it was myself.
Yeah.
So initially, we were just going to do, one song, and it was a song actually that I had written previously. And it was going to be like a one-off, kind of thing. And so once we recorded that song, it really resonated, with people. The song was called Body Rush, and it resonated with people. And whenever we would go out, to promote, the question was, okay, what's next? What's next? And so that song that was originally supposed to be a one-off became, like 4 singles, that we had done, including a Christmas song that comes around every year. It's called My Kind of Christmas. And
I got to check that out.
Please do.
Yeah.
And we actually just got that song placed in a film that's coming out this year. It's called Once Upon a Philly Christmas. Yeah, back to the
Yeah, we have a band here called Slade, and it's Merry Christmas everybody. And
okay.
I think he earns like $1 million a year just from the rock. And it's the most famous Christmas song, probably one in the world, but definitely in the UK. So Christmas songs are also, you got that feeling of family, Christmas, and
Sure,
people want to hear something different. You've
Yep.
got the classics, but
Yeah. And and through that situation, a lot of different doors opened and connections were made, and now we're sharing stages with people like Christopher Williams and
Great artists,
the late DMX and Intro and Allure and High Five. So and those people not only became industry connections, but they also became friends, and even family, and so which is nice because to this day we can call any one of them up and and it's just like hey let's hang out, what's going on.
It's nice to have that camaraderie from fellow artists and musicians. Yeah. So coming back to you, Shawn, so the band you joined was developed was As Yet.
Well, yes.
Or was it before As Yet?
Picking up that story from where I left off, the band that I joined was actually called Dimension and Sound. And
I like that name.
One of the other members and I left that group, and I had met Dion Allen on the street. We had a sing battle in the middle of the street.
Oh yeah,
So,
okay.
So all three of us were, well, in separate groups, and we decided, you know what, let's start our own group. And the mission was to find a bunch of lead singers, because, you know, the New Edition was a really big influence as far as their template, because they had carved out an individual identity for each member, and you knew them by name.
Yeah.
So we thought, you know, every other group was doing like, I don't know, you know, John and the Johnettes or whatever. Like it was always like one focal point. And we thought there's too much talent here in Philly not to, we'd slay them all. We were very competitive. Because back then, groups battled on street corners. There was plenty of competitions. You can win money. So we started going around the city, making our own outfits, doing our own choreography. And we wrote all our songs a cappella. So we would sing, you know, some cover songs and original acapellas at these competitions, and it got to the point where like we would use the prize money to actually buy outfits, and then people started sponsoring us and saying, we want you to wear our outfits on stage. And then when they see us coming, they're like, oh man, I don't even want to spend the registration fee for this contest. You know, we became kind of like local celebrities in our own right, and then we just kind of expand out to DC. We spent 6 years as amateurs with everybody telling us, if you were any good, you'd have made it by now. I mean, of course we had our people that believed in us, not to discount that, but we always knew that it was just a matter of time. So
good to have belief in yourself. And,
yes. What I say is, against our better judgment, you know, we went for it and kept pushing until we eventually got the attention of BabyFace.
Who's an amazing producer and songwriter, and you also work with David Foster as well.
Yes, indeed.
I saw that there was a program about him as a songwriter.
Yes.
And I didn't realise all the amazing people he's worked with and how diverse. So how was it like working with BabyFace and David Foster?
Well, I think let's just say it's, I should definitely mention how it happened, which was kind of a story in itself, but to make a short story long, I had been through a bad relationship, and I found myself alone during the holidays because plans were canceled. And I get a call from the late Jackie McQuarrie, who was our manager and also the mother of BabyFace's current, well, now ex-wife. So she says, well, if you're not going anywhere, why don't you come and stay with me and Kenny? And I said, Kenny who? Kenny BabyFace Edmonds. So I had like a couple of days, before everyone was gonna go up to this beautiful place in Tahoe. And because I was feeling down about the relationship that had fallen apart, I had a 4-track Tascam Porter studio.
Common thread.
So I stacked my vocals, and for the 5th track, because there's 5 members and only 4 tracks, I bounced it and sang the last take live and brought this hissy, noisy cassette to BabyFace's mountaintop studio. And I'll never forget this, because we're all sitting around. And when I say we're all sitting around, John B was there, Daryl Simmons. There were a lot of hosts from TV shows, like a lot of the who's who of the behind-the-scenes industry people were all down in this big place, skiing and eating and hanging out. So when I played the demo, he got really quiet. And everyone got quiet, and they looked around, and he says, I like it. When we get back, we're going to record it. Little did I know that when he said we're going to record it, I was expected to teach the group the arrangement before we got there, which I did. And then we recorded in about 4 hours, 4 takes a person, no auto-tune, no pitch correction, 2 sets of 2 stereo tracks per person. Then Faye says, do you mind? I'm gonna put somebody on speakerphone. He calls David Foster right then and there and says, there's something I want you to hear. Plays it for David Foster. David says, I want to be a part of this. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to bring a friend of mine over, and he comes with Peter Cetera. Then he gets on the piano, and the remix was born. Then Peter says, I want to be in the video. It was surreal, man. That was my first professional production. Wow. A tough act to follow. And it wound up getting a Grammy nomination for Best R&B Vocal Performance, Group or Duo in 1998.
Wonderful.
Yes, indeed.
So you had a big hit with Last Night, but you talk Hard to Say I'm Sorry with the original singer from Chicago. Have you ever heard Street Player by Chicago? No. Oh, you got to check that out. Okay. So they did a remake called Bucketheads, These Sounds Fall in My Mind. Oh, yeah. And I think it's a guitarist, Mark Anthony Jones, who plays guitar for Kid Creole and Coconut. He's the lead vocalist, but That's an original. I heard it at like a Grace Jones concert. A DJ was playing it in Berlin, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And it was Chicago. So they did some great songs.
Yeah,
Chicago.
I heard the remix and then found out later that vocal was sampled from that other song, but I've never really heard it.
Yeah. So what was it like working with Peter Cetera as well?
You know, he's an interesting cat. When I say interesting, he doesn't get enough credit for being as... He's got a gravitas about him in the studio that's at the level of a BabyFace or a David Foster. Like, he's obviously been and done.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting was that when we got to the set in the video, he's on set, he's all serious. And they're like, okay, in 3, 2, 1. And then he goes, and after all that's been said, and cut.
Okay.
Every time, for 8 hours straight, he did the exact same thing. His eyes lit up, his teeth, and then when they say cut,
I love that.
no, he's a great guy. He took us out to dinner afterwards, and then he actually asked us to return the favor by, he said, hey, do you think you can do, I'm doing a cover, like a greatest hits compilation, revisiting some of the songs, and we did You're the Inspiration. And I got to arrange it, you know, in the style of the other song, and we went in and shot a video in Malibu, and it's playing in Walmarts everywhere. Yes.
So moving forward, because we haven't got much time,
Okay.
so let's talk about how you guys met each other, and then your current project Nasrus and Neurotic Goddess.
Okay. All right. Well,
And you both can talk about this.
Well, we actually, Nasrus was built from our friendship, right?
When did you guys first meet?
Well, we actually met just after COVID, when things were starting, to open back up. And Andy, who we were talking about earlier, is actually, the conduit, and the catalyst, for that, because Andy and I, go back, a few years, and so he was coming over to the States because he was looking to get some content for a show that he was putting together, and so he had asked me if I could reach out to some of the people, in my circle, some of the ones that I had mentioned earlier, and of course, I was happy to do it. But when I looked at the logistics, a lot of those people are, they're in New York, or both like Louisville Forest in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. So I mean, they're kind of spread out. And so Shawn and I were Facebook friends, right? And so I'm like, wait, Shawn's in Philadelphia.
And did you like As Yet when they first?
Oh yeah, I was a huge As Yet fan. Yeah, I loved
after the initial hate phase.
Well, I was gonna say that. let me clarify that though, because I was in a group and we were, still kind of, we were scratching and, and struggling to get where they were. And I'm looking at him and these dudes on TV like, they have that we don't have. But now it's all love.
Exactly, yeah. So you were Facebook friends?
Yeah, right. Yes.
And how did COVID affect you guys before you did it? It must have been hard.
It was.
But you could be in your studios, right?
But creatively, it gave you time, to be creative. Yeah. So when I reached out to him because I wanted to ask if he would be willing to sit down, with Andy, but in order to I guess validate myself, because again, we knew each other, like on social media, I sent him a video that I had done with Julia, the latest single, that we had done, which coincidentally was shot in Philadelphia, very near where he lives, and this is where he's going to pick up.
So when I saw this video, the first thing I thought was, wait a minute. I know the kind of logistics it takes to shoot in downtown Philadelphia at City Hall. It's the most trafficked area, and the video was shot beautifully, and it really suited the song. And I'm like, wait a minute. I've seen record labels who don't have this sense of taste. The execution I was impressed by, because a lot of people have great ideas, but I'm like, if this man put this together, he gets it. He knows how to pull things together and follow through, which is big for me. More important for me than the kind of music or the quality, or whether I like the sound, is less important than whether I see the vision and hear the vision. Mm-hmm. And when both of them happen, where I'm like, okay, I like this. And on top of that, like, this is the man who did it?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I had to meet him.
Yeah, and so we ended up, meeting up for lunch or dinner or something like that. And then Andy's plans changed, and his trip was delayed. But by that point, Shawn and I started hanging out, and we were cool and everything. And so, that's where our friendship started to, to develop. And then when he released his most recent solo single, called Giggity, I said, hey, man,
Great title, by the way.
I know some,
I need to listen to that too.
Okay, all right, you see, yeah. So I said, I know some folks, I know some radio folks, some podcasts, so, why don't I take you around and, and help you promote it? So what ended up happening was as we were doing that, people knowing my background in music and obviously knowing his background would say to us, well, when are you guys going to do something together? And at first we were like, we'll get around to it, whatever. But then it kept happening. Like they, and then the more people would ask us that, the more it just seemed like a good idea. And then that's where the whole car ride.
So one day we're driving down the road and Norm says to me, I almost don't want to play this for you because you're going to think it's stupid or silly or crazy, but you know what? Oh, what the hell? And he plays me a recording of him singing the song that he wrote, the lyrics and melody. And as soon as I heard it, I said, you know what? That's the good kind of crazy. Like this is like, yeah, I think I know where this could go. And we kind of shot some ideas around. I went home, put the headphones on, put his vocal into the computer and built the music around it, like synced it up to a metronome and said, is this going the right way? And he's like, yeah. And next thing you know, we're throwing ideas around. I was like, well, what if you try this and add this? And like, we just worked together. The song came about, and what you hear is us going back and forth until it was done.
So the name Nasrus, so that's a mixture of your names, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's not too deep. It's Norm Adams and
Shawn Rivera.
And that's us, because it's who we are.
Nasrus.
So the single's called Neurotic Goddess.
Neurotic Goddess.
So the video was shot in Philadelphia?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Neurotic Goddess, she's a neurotic goddess.
That girl will play with your heart.
Neurotic Goddess, she's a neurotic goddess.
Build you up, then tear you apart.
Neurotic Goddess, she's a neurotic goddess.
So be warned that she'll pull you in.
Neurotic Goddess, she's a neurotic goddess.
With equal parts heaven and sin.
Neurotic Goddess, she's a neurotic goddess.
You want her, you need her, but you just don't see her for what she is. She's too hot to handle, you can't hold a candle to all her vindictiveness. Cause she's a
Neurotic Goddess, she's a neurotic goddess. Neurotic Goddess, she's a neurotic goddess.
come on.
Neurotic Goddess, neurotic goddess.
Hey!
Neurotic Goddess, she's a neurotic goddess.
That girl will torture your soul
Neurotic Goddess, she's a neurotic goddess.
till you're falling and losing control.
Neurotic Goddess, she's a neurotic goddess.
So watch out before it's too late.
Neurotic Goddess, she's a neurotic goddess.
Turn around now and don't hesitate.
Neurotic Goddess, she's a neurotic goddess.
You say that you love her, can't stop thinking of her with visions of wedded bliss. But you should forget it or you will regret it, cause she's just a narcissist. And she's a
Neurotic Goddess, she's a neurotic goddess.
Wonderfully talented, actresses, and we want to shout out the casting director, Roz Fulton from Direction Exposure Casting. She did an incredible job of casting the actresses who played the different characters, and the whole idea, behind that was to kind of, to keep with the theme of the song, but also create something that was going to feature recognizable characters, So we cast a Catwoman and we cast a She-Devil and Maleficent and, and just kind of put them and ourselves in these zany situations.
And the t-shirts. So you got t-shirts.
Yeah.
Yes.
So any idea with the t-shirts?
Yeah.
You just like wearing t-shirts, or they were just had some symbolic meaning in
there's
the
some
video?
Subtext.
Yes.
There's like subtext to why each t-shirt was chosen for each scene. Like for instance, when you see Maleficent and I'm holding the wings and the shirt says got wings,
Yeah.
you know, and then the old school introvert and extrovert, like it's an expression of who we are as we go along.
Right.
We like to...
So who's the introvert?
Depends on the day.
yeah.
Okay, good answer. Good answer. Okay.
It depends on the day.
Okay.
Got more sleep.
And
What
then,
about you? Want to give a shout out to the is it gentleman who did the artwork? Because I really love the artwork for the single.
Oh yes. Gregory Q. Lee. Yes.
Yeah, brilliant artwork.
Yes, he did the cover art, and again, concepts, right? We wanted something that was going to be reminiscent of the 50s, those B movies, the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, and that, and so he took the idea, and we took some pictures of for the cover, to send to him, and
Every time we laugh every time we talk about this cover because we're shooting this. It's supposed to be a still shot of us, and Norm says, "Make it look like you're running from some, this woman towering over you." And I practiced all week. I said, "I'm going to stand in the mirror because I want to get the right angle." As soon as we get there, and it's flat ground, broad daylight. As I'm falling over,
because he was leaving. And that's when the picture was taken, and that's the shot you see on the cover. He was literally about to fall, and that was the shot that ended up on.
He did a great job.
And we always laugh. We say, "To think you almost didn't play me the song. Like we would have missed out on all this.
All of this.
Yeah, all the fun. It's a lot of fun for you guys. So
it is.
You're going to Amsterdam next.
Yes.
You've been to Holland before?
Yes.
I love Holland. Amsterdam's a great city.
It's the first time I've been. So
really? Oh, you're going to love it.
Yeah.
You're going to love it.
Yeah.
It's a great place. So tell us future plans for Nasrus. So Neurotic Goddess is now on all musical, Apple Music and all Spotify and all the music platforms. Tidal,
yes. Amazon Music. It's everywhere that you get your digital
and some
music.
futures. Are you working on an album or another single or?
When we first started, we said we'll take it one song at a time, but the response we're getting warrants a follow-up.
Yeah.
So, life is what happens while we're making other plans, but in a perfect world, we keep the party going, and hopefully, with this, how the market is now where people are, very quick with it.
You guys on TikTok as well?
Yes, we are.
Because you guys are funny together. I love your interactions. So you should do some more videos on TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna hopefully by this.
Fun as in entertaining and in a positive way.
It's all about building, and that's really where we are, right now. We're building a brand, and hopefully fostering, an experience, and we're truly, grateful for those who are, coming along this journey with us, and we also want to thank you for sharing your platform, with us.
Thank you for, thank you, Andy and Mark Anthony again.
Yes, thank you.
So the plans are to do another song and then hopefully maybe live band and live performances because you obviously both love performing.
We do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm not sure when this airs, but it'll be out there forever. But if you happen to be in Atlantic City December 2nd, you can catch us at the ACX1 studio.
Together?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Performing live.
And singing, obviously, Neurotic Goddess, but other songs that you've co-written or your own songs
Yeah,
together?
we'll throw a few covers in there too.
Okay.
Yep.
It's a great chance
What
for people
songs do you
to
like
get
to
know us.
cover? For example, it depends on
the crowd. Because, we've got a lot of background too with pop, with R&B, with country, you name it.
Yeah.
And one of the fun things about our shows is no two will be alike, but you'll always get the songs you want, hopefully. The other thing is that the sky's the limit for, where we can take this thing.
Sure.
So I think if you like what you're seeing so far, the energy that we bring to the stage, it's a party.
And finally, where can everyone find you on social media? Is so important these days.
It is. It really is. Well, our website is nasrus.com, Nasrus. And on social media, we are at Nasrus Music. So that's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's X, formerly known as Twitter.
Oh, yeah. I have to say that X.
Nothing. But we are, at Nasrus Music. So, so please follow us on social media, And yeah.
I just want to say quickly, lastly, because we talked before off camera about Pastor Noel Jones and you know, and about church, and you mentioned church, and I was fortunate enough to be his friend one, but to go to his church a few times and see it perform. So big shout out to Pastor Noel Jones, just for you. Check them out, and thank you guys for your time. And again, thank you, Andy Franklin and Mark Anthony Abel, for filming and editing. Thank you guys, and enjoy your stay what's left in the UK before you head off to Amsterdam, and safe travel home.
You've been
And I do a radio show on Radio Free Pimlico.co.uk.
Okay.
I'm on there tomorrow. I'm going to play your single as well.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
TerryTopCat for TerryTopCat, Purrsents for clusterview.com, Nasrus, new single, Neurotic Goddess. Get it now. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.